Well, hello, my wonderful office workplace warriors, and welcome back to another episode of Dear HR Diary by Manage with Hart, the absolutely unfiltered truth that you wish they taught in management school or business school or any school for that matter. I don't know, high school, college, where trade school, wherever you are. I am so excited. I have my spirit animal. Um, she's laughing. I have my spirit animal, my like we met and just kind of hit it off and decided that we have going to change careers and we're going to ride around in a van together and like just celebrate all the fun stuff. So let me introduce you to my exciting guest that hopes to become a regular on this fun podcast because like me, she's a crazy lunatic and has all of her crazy HR letters behind her name. But Traci Austin, MPA, SPHR, SHRM slash SCP, ACC, like every letter, PDQ, XYZ, whatever. Yeah, all the stuff. She's a transformational leadership strategist and the founder and chief talent officer of Elevated Talent Consulting. She is the authority, if you're looking for authority, on HR and leadership trades. So anybody that follows me knows that I've worked in the trade industry. So we hit it off that helping construction and skilled trades businesses build high performing teams and develop the next generation of trade leaders because people in the trades are a completely different host of animals. That is for sure. She is a dynamic speaker and sought after advisor. Traci delivers no fluff, high impact leadership insights designed for the realities of the trades because they are special people. Whether it's teaching foremen how to handle tough conversations or showing business owners how to create a culture that attracts top talent, she provides practical strategies that can work on the job site, not just in theory. She also has a podcast. Woohoo! Podcast person in the house, the People Strategy Podcast. Traci brings trade leaders real world solutions through conversations with top industry experts. Each episode delivers straightforward, actionable insights on leadership, HR, and workforce trends. Go grab it. Listen to it now. You have like over 200,
What
200.
episodes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a ton. She has a ton. Like I'm like working my way through them. So go grab it. Go listen to him. She's great.
Ooh, what's your favorite?
Oh gosh. I just listened to one on my way into work today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. Crap, put me
Nothing
on the
like
spot
being
like that."
put on the spot,
Yeah,
right?
we're introducing Traci as she puts me on the spot. Today, we're going to start about stop bitching, start pitching, and we're not talking like marketing strategies here. We're talking about real life. Quit your whining, coming into HR, telling us all your problems because we don't really care. No, that's not true. We do care. We want to help you find solutions, though. Welcome to the show, Traci.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So much fun. And like, holy bio. I think I need to cut it shorter.
Yeah, I think it's like 5 paragraphs. I'm just kidding. It really isn't, y'all.
I'm
So
sitting here blushing, going, wow, my marketing person is freaking amazing. And she makes me sound really, really good, but we're going to have fun.
oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So Traci and I hit it off for lots of reasons. Both of us have HR backgrounds, as well as both of us have worked in the trade industry, as well as, dealing with these little things called humans in human resources. So yeah. Oh my gosh. What prompted this stop bitching, start pitching? Like, did you just have so many managers come in your office one day and you're like, I've had it. I'm up to here with you crazy lunatics.
Well, actually, it was pretty funny. I One of my clients had asked me to speak at iLandscape, which is conference that pulls in over 5,000 people in Illinois and Wisconsin, all for landscape professionals. And so Steve Razek and I were chatting, and he's like, "Well, what should we call it?" And I'm like, essentially, it is how do we turn complaints into requests, because all a
Yeah.
complaint is a poorly worded request, but all we know how to do is bitch. And he just kind of looks at me, he's like, oh, he's like, so, and I'm like, well, what about like stop bitching and start pitching? But can I say that, like, can we actually put that in a program brochure for 5,000 people? He's like, well, I don't see why not. And I was like, but are you sure it's professional enough? And he goes, here's the deal, Traci. You can get in a truck with me and go out to a job site and wear a pair of jeans and go change and come into the boardroom with me in the afternoon and be able to handle both audiences. Yes, we can do this. I said, okay.
Love it. Oh my gosh. And I really love what you just said. Like a complaint is just a poorly worded request. Like
Exactly.
that's the gold right there, people. So if people are coming in to complain, they probably have a request somewhere. And as HR people, it's our job to kind of figure out what that is. Um, and I joke because when people come in my office, I usually will ask them, do you want me to help you solve the problem, or are you just coming in here to vent? And I will tell you, even if they're coming in there to vent, there is some ask that's going to be made in that
Right.
situation.
Right.
So that's a great way to look at it, is someone's in there like telling you that they have a problem. And
Right.
I think a lot of times, and I don't know if you experience this, a lot of times we tune that out and we're like, oh my gosh, that's negative Nelly, or that's, Paul, the, complainer or whatever. And we tend to not really think or want to help, or I don't know, we tune them out, right? And we're like, they're just in here to complain.
Right. And I think part of it is like in my early HR days, and I wouldn't recommend this now, what I know now that I didn't know then, I literally had a 10-minute timer that I would flip and be like, okay, so you want to complain? Go for it. But guess what? By the time this timer's done, we have to have some solution because you are not coming in here to drop this thing on my desk and walk out the door. Because I am not your complaint department. I'm here to listen, but I'm not your complaint department. And so I literally had a timer that I would flip, especially for the ones that wanted to show up and like just, claim real estate in my office every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not getting my shit done, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We need to move this thing forward.
Or it's the
Um,
same thing, like
yeah,
the same complaint.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the same complaint all the time about the same person. Then I'm like,
Mhm.
well, how do you want to resolve it? Well, can you just fire them? And I'm like, no, like that is not an appropriate request. What is a request we need to make? And what skills do you need to learn? And they're like, but I have to learn. I'm like, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that I'm like having these like PTSD things going on through my head right now. People that literally have camped out in my office. And being in HR as long as I have, there's always that one person that you just know is going to come in and just not be happy no matter what. You like this, it's a beautiful day outside and the sun is shining. And well, did you know global warming is increasing people's death rate? It's like, seriously, dude, come on.
Yeah.
And I have to think that we as HR professionals, just a lot of us are transactionally driven. It's so you're coming in my office and you want something, and say, no, I got to fix it, and then get out of my office. So I think as HR people, it would behoove us to take just a few minutes, even if it's a timer or a mental timer, to be like, what is really the ask?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask. Like, what do you
Right.
want?
And I also think that there's a mindset shift.
Mm,
And from you're coming in my office and I have to solve it to you're coming in my office and I am here to support you. It is not my job to solve it. And she was actually an employee of mine and phenomenal. But what Paige said to me one day, she goes, Traci, I want you to imagine that you've got a bubble around you. And I'm like, oh God, Paige, where is this going? And she's like, no, just bear with me a minute. Okay. Just bear with me. I'm like, okay. She's like, I want you to imagine you have a bubble around you. And that bubble, she goes, I just see people walk in your office and you just take on all their shit and you take on
mm,
all their shit. And she goes,
mhm,
all of a sudden you are so frustrated that you can't perform at your best. And she goes, there's some things that you take on that are not yours to take on.
mhm.
And she goes, so if you create this little bubble and kind of push it out so that there's enough space for you to think between yourself and the bubble. If you're watching us on Zoom, you'll see that I'm moving my
She
chair
pushes
back
out.
to
Yeah.
create a bubble. She goes, but then when that stuff is thrown at you, you've created enough of the buffer room and the mental space to think about it so that it bounces back. And that way, it is not yours to take on. It is
Mhm.
their thing. And your job is to support them in thinking through it. And that's really where this complaints into poorly worded requests came from, because we're all taught how to complain very, very early on.
Mhm.
We are not taught how to make requests. So it's like once we start getting these complaints, it's sitting here and asking the questions to figure out what the request is. And then what we're doing is we're shifting the culture to train our folks into starting to ask about the requests.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to something you said earlier,
Sure.
which was, the person that comes in and just all negative all the time. Here's how I combated that. Are you ready? It's
Mm,
fun.
mm. Let's
Like,
hear it.
so, Debbie Downer or, Sunshine Killer Sally, whatever we want to call her today.
These people that have these names probably just, I mean, like Karen. Like, I have a really good
Right.
friend. Her name is Karen, and I feel
Right.
bad for her because her name is Karen.
Oh, I
And
know. I
she's
know.
like, anyway, so I
So
digress.
anyway,
Okay, Debbie Downer or
whatever. Right.
Buzzkill Bob or whatever.
So like when I see them coming in, I immediately go, "Oh my gosh, what are three things I'm grateful for that I can name at the very beginning of this conversation to set the tone?" So like, Dawn, I am so grateful right now that it is like sun shining outside. It's like almost 60 degrees today. Amazing.
She's in
I
Wisconsin.
found a $20 sweater that is wool and on clearance that I'm like so like loving today. And I had a decent conversation with my 17-year-old this morning. Do you know how amazing that is?
That is amazing.
So guess what we just did is we just shifted the conversation into positive things. And I didn't give that person an opportunity to start complaining until I named it. Now I set the tone. Now I'm going to listen into what's the complaint today
Right. Oh my gosh.
so we can turn.
Yeah, and you know what that does? So you've shifted the mindset thinking. So
Yeah.
Buzzkill Bob, or screaming at you, Susie, or whatever her name is, his name. You all are mentally picturing this in your brain, who your person is, that kind of, and this doesn't just apply for HR people. These are like my managers that are listening
Oh, this
in
is
as well. This is
everybody.
everybody. So if
Yeah.
you think this is specifically given to HR people, one of the reasons that I was excited to have Traci on board is just that management background too. So it's like, as my managers are listening on this, you all know that you have people, employees, coworkers, your boss, God forbid, it's not your boss, that comes in with that kind of mindset. And what you just did, Traci, is like lighten the load a little bit. It's almost like, okay, yeah, that's really cool. Now, as a female, I'd be like, where'd you get the sweater? And you only spent $20. That's really impressive, right? And you've kind of changed my thinking to be more upbeat. Like, okay, well, I don't want to complain because I don't want to poop on her parade because she just told me how beautiful it is and how much, how exciting her conversation is with her teenage son. And those of you that have teenagers know what we're talking about. So I think that's a great way to look at it. I also think what that does as a manager or an HR person is diffuses the situation, and it allows the employee that maybe, or that person that's coming in there that might be at a heightened, alerted mental state to kind of almost recompose what they're thinking. So you're doing something subconsciously. You're bringing kind of exciting stuff in, or you're talking about something that's more positive or that you're grateful for, and now that employee that wanted to come and complain has like, oh, I guess I really shouldn't, like, oh, I don't want to, hopefully they're like, I don't want to ruin that person's mood, but that's a great way to put that.
And here's the deal. We still want to hear what they have to say, but their presentation of it will more than likely shift into a way that they're presenting it into a solution focus, and you've set the stage so that you can also hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love
Because
that.
there's nothing worse than getting the call. I mean, I had a manager, I'm going to call him Bob. Um I
Sorry,
had a
Bob.
manager that, every time I'd see his, as I look at my phone, every time I'd see Bob show up on my phone, I'm like, rah, 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 under my breath, and I'm about ready to pick up the phone and go, that like, really, he's calling again and I have to talk to him. And so my executive director at the time pulled me aside. She's like, Traci, the even though it's on the phone, your voice gives everything away.
Mm.
And if you are smiling, it's probably not going to come out the same way as like, hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. Right? Like, do we hear that difference? Hi, Bob. Hi, Bob. Right? Like, you can hear that in the voice. And she goes, I'm like, well, how do you do that? She goes, I have a trick. They are your small fry petty tyrants. I'm like, they're what? She's like,
Small
small fry
fry,
petty
petty
tyrants.
tyrants. Oh,
And it
okay.
made me laugh because you can't say that like 5 times fast. And like, what the heck is a small fry petty tyrant? Like, hello. So then every time one of these folks that was frustrating called, it was like, ooh, there's my small fry petty tyrants. Like, this is like a developmental challenge today of like how to actually serve them and not piss them off on this call just because I don't want to pick up the phone.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
It
that's
works with
awesome.
ex-husbands too, by the way.
Oh, good to know. Small fry petty tyrant ex-husbands. Good to know. Okay, so similar. I'll shift gears. Similar process that I did. I worked in a call center. I was a call center supervisor. I had 35 call center employees that reported to me. And one of my, I think it was my second job as a manager. My first job, I was working in retail, but my second job was managing a call center. And people don't call call centers to tell you what a great job you're doing. They
No.
basically call to tell you that you're flaming idiots. And so it would be really, really very high stress for my employees. And they would take these phone calls where they're being screamed at and yelled at and, cussed at and whatever. And when I'd call monitor and I'd listen in on the calls, you could tell in their voice that they were mad, they were upset. And I'm not talking the customer, I'm talking the employees. Mad, upset. Oh my gosh, I have to deal with this issue again. And so I got small mirrors, like those locker mirrors. I know some
Oh
people don't even
yeah.
remember lockers, but locker mirrors. And I put stickers on them. And they were just like funny, like Snoopy stickers, or they were like just cartoon stickers on them. And they were just really kind of funny. And I didn't cover the whole mirror. I made it so that it looked like a frame. And I put them right in front of their phones so that when they answered the phone, what do? They look in the mirror and they see their face. And if their face is like, I tell them, I'm like, look at and like stick your tongue out, like make a face at yourself because that will tell. Gosh, she just did. It'll make you laugh. So, and it'll make you, it like lifts the tone of the phone call. So, and it changed. You could definitely tell. I could tell when I was call monitoring my employees that were looking in the mirror because they were like either making a face at themselves or they had just looked in their mirror and their voice changed. And even if they were dealing with an upset customer, I would tell them, look in the mirror because you'll see yourself and you'll, hopefully make that adjustment. And it helped. Like the employees were laughing. We were getting less complaints about how rude my customer service reps were, which was huge. But I just remember thinking it's just shifting something so small like a locker mirror right in front of somebody's phone, just like small fried tyrant. What do you call them? Small fried tyrant. Now I can't
Petty.
even do petty tyrants. I'm to think of that when people call me on the phone
See,
now.
like, and we can't even say it
I
without
know
laughing.
we're
And that
laughing.
is the point. Like, we're not calling people names here, but like,
No.
it's not for them, it's for us, right? And I think the other side of this is the only thing we can control is ourselves. And how we respond to others is 100% reflection on our character.
Hmm.
They can do whatever they want. I'm 100% responsible for me, and I'm going to be 100% responsible for how I'm going to respond to that. Notice I didn't say react
Hmm.
because react means I'm not thinking and choosing. Respond means I'm choosing what that action is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I tell people, what's your threshold for pain? What's your level threshold for pain? So if somebody's coming in to complain for the 19th time, generally I'm like, okay, well, we had this conversation where we discussed how frustrated you were getting with Tracy being late to work. And here you are in here having the 14th conversation with me. Are you at your threshold of pain? And if so, let's talk about how to resolve this because generally they've gotten to the point that they're done documenting or done disciplining or done having conversations with Tracy about her attendance. And now I'm frustrated because I didn't do it sooner. And now people have gotten so used to that question of mine that they're kind of like, okay, they'll come in my office. I'm at my threshold of pain with
Right.
Tracy and her attendance. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Tracy's not late, but yeah. So it kind of helps reframe that thought. It really does work. And I think it's just a habit to am I complaining to complain or am I complaining because I actually have a request that needs to be done?
Yeah. And, another kind of item that is looking at it is it's like, hey, when you show up late, I receive that as, you blowing off our team. I feel disrespected. Is that what you mean?
Hmm.
Right. So, like, what's really important here is that we're not taking that behavior or that emotion on as ours. We're putting it back on them and putting the accountability back on others for their actions. And we're not taking responsibility for others' reactions. It
Right.
is not my responsibility for you to show up on time. Now, it is my responsibility to create the container for you to be successful and to share the impacts of that. And by saying at the end of that, is that what you mean? Now they have to answer that.
That's so valid. And again, it's you are taking this stop your bitching, start pitching down to the now to your employees level, right? So we've
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about a couple things here. We've talked about stop bitching, stop complaining, right? And start
Mhm.
pitching. So it's taking what your request is and actually creating an action for it. And that's ultimately what this boils down to as a manager, as an HR person, as a even an employee in an organization. If you're not a manager or an HR professional, it even boils down to, what am I coming in here, what am I hoping to achieve? Now the onus is on me. I need to take accountability and action for that. I also like that you were talking about the fact that um, you are creating this bubble around yourself to not take on people's emotions or people's responses. And as a manager, as an HR person, and to somewhat an employee, because employees complain to each other. I know that. I get that.
Mhm.
Um, it's
And it changes
why,
the culture.
yeah, why are we taking on someone else's emotions and making them our own? I see that a lot. I mean, you just talked about it. You're owning it as a manager. I know that there were times that I'd have employees come in and say, listen, my dog died. My grandma's in the hospital. My daughter is flunking 3 classes. And I just feel, I know personally, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. And I would just almost take that burden of emotion and take it on myself. And then by the time
Hmm.
that conversation was over, I was mentally exhausted.
Right.
And I think we do that a lot of times as caregivers, or particularly those of us in the HR field, because we want our employees to feel like we care about them. You can care
Right.
about your employees without
Yeah.
having to take on their own personal burdens.
Yeah. So, and with that, I love analogies. So one of my first jobs was um saying hello.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
one of my first jobs right in high school when I turned 16 was a lifeguard, right?
Oh my
Was
gosh.
being a lifeguard. And so I'm going to use this analogy as being a lifeguard. Is like when you're a lifeguard and you're in that chair, you are above the pool, right?
Mm,
You're above the pool, you can see what's going on. We can see all the different, we can connect the dots between all of the different things that are happening. We also have this really fun, like floaty red thing that is sitting in our lap, which I don't know what you call them, but whatever they
life
are.
preservers,
Yeah, but
floats.
they're like the long ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a tool, right? That is a tool where we can throw it out and pull somebody back in without jumping in the pool with them. Or if we get to a point where we have to jump in the pool with them, we have that there as a tool to help hold us up if we start, getting pushed under because somebody's drowning. Because guess what? When
Hmm.
somebody's drowning, they are more than likely going to push you down to push themselves up.
Hmm.
Right? And so it's the same thing emotionally when we start talking about supporting others is, as soon as I jump in that pool, I'm I'm no longer able to see from the top down. I'm now at the level and I can only see that person that's in front of me. I can no longer see the whole picture. And so often when we're coaching others or whatnot as HR, as managers, as leaders, we need to stay out of the pool because as
Oh.
soon as we jump in the pool with them and start to get emotionally involved in that situation with dog died, all those things, we're no longer being able to see that objectively because we're right there in the situation with them. Now, doing that in a bar after work with somebody outside, totally okay. When I call my best friend, we're going to start bitching. And that
Right.
is the point to do that. We're in
Right.
the pool together and we need that. Yet when we are at work, that is not the time or the place to jump in the pool.
Hmm.
Typically, there's times we need to, but then we need to remember what are our tools to keep us afloat of what's going on.
Oh my gosh. I love the analogy. I'm like, I was a lifeguard in high school too. So I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I remember. I remember that. But that's such a valid point. And don't get sucked down. Like you don't want to you don't want to drown saving somebody else.
I mean,
Um,
I've been kicked in the head trying to save somebody before. I don't know if
yeah,
you have, but
I have it, but I had to swim to the very bottom of a 10-foot pool to get somebody off the bottom. And that
mhm,
was scary enough in itself. But I also had resources, right? So I had my float, I had another lifeguard that was helping. I mean, there was a lot of things that were going into that. So I get that's such a great analogy as I think back on that. I'm like, wow, I, you don't want to, you want to use your resources accurately so you don't pull them in too, but rely on those and don't let yourself drown for the sake of one person when you have other people that could be involved as well.
Right. There's an
So,
entire pool that you're
yeah.
watching for. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. Like, so eye-opening. I love swimming in a pool, preferably with a floaty and a cocktail, but I
Is it a
definitely
duck floaty or is it the unicorn?
I have a pink swan that I
Oh,
that no one gets to see pictures of. But yes, I have a pink swan that I love to swim on with my little cocktail, which is fun. And now when I get in the pool, I'm going to laugh thinking about this analogy, or I'm going to use it on my husband. And he's going to be like, he's just going to roll his eyes at me, which is
right.
even better.
Well, Dawn, when we start traveling the country in our
In our
little
van.
Mercedes
Yeah.
Sprinter van, drinking cocktails, speaking about some HR funny things somewhere,
Mhm.
we can have some unicorn cocktails.
I like that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, but I want to go back to where the reference, because I think a lot of times as new managers, we get caught up in sitting in the pool with our pink floaty and our cocktail, and we don't know how to save the people that could be pulling us down. So,
Correct.
when you think of training a new manager or working with somebody that's new to management or even someone that's new to HR, what kind of advice would you give them as they're trying to figure out what tools or resources or how to save that person, save, use my air quotes there. How do you
Yeah.
help that person without drowning?
Yeah. So I think that there's a couple of things here, and I'm going to start with kind of the save. And I love how you air quoted it is they have to save themselves.
Hmm.
We can't save someone for them. They have to save themselves for the most part. And even as a guard, when you jump in the pool to go save someone, they still have to grab onto your little floaty. So yes, it's an assisted save where they are supporting this by doing that. Yeah, there's times where you get on your back and you grab them around and you start kicking backwards, right? Because they're unconscious or whatever. That's a distinction. But for the most part, when we're doing this with, new managers and HR folks, it's one ensuring that they a know what their tools are
Hmm.
and B know how to use them. And that's part of the reason we run leadership courses and I know you run leadership courses, right? Of we're teaching managers what are your tools? A, B, how do you use those tools? And we're giving them experiences to practice those tools so that if they ever have to jump in the pool following our analogy, they know how to use them. Because if we don't create that as an embodied thing that we just know how to do it, if we have to think about it, we're going to revert back to what we know how, which is going to drown us both.
Hmm.
And so that knowing what our tools are, knowing how to use our tools, then the third thing I would say is be really, really careful not to jump in the pool
Right.
unless it's absolutely necessary.
So to continue on this analogy, because I really like it, um, I think it's great. Um, and I've never, you hear the oxygen mask analogy all the time, like put your oxygen on mask before helping other people. But I think the pool one's more specific to kind of what we're talking about. Um, And I really think I don't know if you remember this, but when I became a lifeguard, you go through immense training, immense training. And you learn everything from the chemicals of the water of the pool that you're in to how to tread water for 197 bajillion minutes in your clothes, how to do rescues, and you train constantly. Like it wasn't when you become a certified lifeguard, you are constantly training. It's not something that goes away. And I think you just brought up a very valid point when you were as a new manager or as someone that's new to HR or even an employee that is, it's rely on that training. Like look for ways to try to get that training because that's what's going to help you. Don't go into it blind. Like you could not be a lifeguard, a certified, sure, you could pretend to be a lifeguard like Baywatch, but you can't be a certified lifeguard without going through the training and without recognizing what your resources and your tools are. They won't let you do it. You won't get the job. So that's such a valid point that you brought up those three areas because While it's critical to lifeguards, it's also can be transferred into true life skills or true management skills. So look for those management classes. Listen to these great podcasts and get the information because training is a constant thing. You don't if you want to be successful at what you're doing, and this is critical.
Yeah, and the other piece here is if you think about, a lifeguard, guess what? It is not a one and done training.
Mhm.
There are in services that they're required to do. They're continued to do it over and over. I've got two boys, one's a senior in high school and one's a freshman in college. They both guard. Well, one wanted to come home from school and guard again. And she's like, you've missed your last, in service. So you can't until you come in and do training. And he's like, well, I don't want to do that. Well, then you can't come and guard. Right. And it's the same thing. Like even in HR, if you're certified with SHRM or HRCI, you have to get your recertification credits. And so, let's think about our leadership team and our managers and our new managers. Are we training them initially, then giving them that ongoing professional development recertification on the skills so that they can truly utilize the tools to ensure that their people that they are leading have the resources that they need. And so often, we hire folks as managers or we promote them into a management role and we never train them
Yep.
and we wonder why they fail.
Yeah. We wonder why they drown. I mean, or their people drown. I mean, such a great
Yep.
analogy. And that's the whole reason I started Manage with Heart, particularly to help those new managers get the skills. And I'm not talking about leadership, I'm talking just about management fundamentals 101, how to do an
Yep.
interview, how to do documentation, how to do this, how to, and people don't think about that. They put you in a management role and they're like, hey, go terminate Katie. You're like, what? How do I terminate somebody that I don't
Yeah.
even know how to terminate? So yeah, I think
And,
those
and
are
and
things
then
that
we
get
get like
missed.
an ERD claim that
Yeah.
says they said this in the termination. We're like, you didn't.
Yes. Yes. I actually got a call from a manager coach the other day about that. Like, and I said, you said what? Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? Please tell me that you didn't say that. And it was just a recent, and it was funny. I don't know, but I had done a mechanics class, the management mechanics class that I do, and it was on termination. And they basically were like, yeah, I said that. I'm like, okay, we go back and listen to that thing. And then in our next one on one, we're going to talk about ways that you could do that differently. So again, same thing. Well, Tracy, this has been great. So tell me, what's one little nugget that you'd like to leave with the listeners?
Yeah. So I don't know if is this audio or visual? I should have asked.
It could be
Just
both.
okay.
Yeah.
So
We
I
might
have
throw it
this
up there
little
on my YouTube for
yeah.
people. So,
I have this little plate behind me that says, I wonder what's on their plate that I don't yet know about.
oh,
And that is not a question for them, it's a question for you.
mm,
And when we open ourselves up to curiosity and conversations, we're more likely to listen. So that's my little tip for you is, just have that little question running in the back of your mind. I wonder what's on their plate that I don't yet know about because
yeah,
their dog could have just died. We
yeah.
don't know. It could be 100 gazillion things. Bottom line is we don't know what's going on in everyone's life. So
Hmm.
coming into every conversation with a little bit of compassion and empathy can go a long way to getting the results you want.
100%. And I'll end it with that because I can think of a better way to end it than that. Like, that's amazing. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for your time today. And I can't wait to have you back on the show because we have lots to talk about. There's so much in the world of management and HR and leadership and all the things that this will be, Tracy will be an ongoing guest. We'll be super excited and privileged and honored to have her on the show. But again, been such a great thing. One of those things that they don't teach in management school or business school or any school. The school of hard knocks is generally how people learn this stuff. But thanks for tuning in to Dear HR Diary by Manage with Heart. Until next time, stay fabulous.